So we're just here. We're just live on Facebook. It is what it is. I have sneaky ways of taking this video and getting it on YouTube after the fact.
Nice.
So we're not going to not lose out on the YouTube thing. We're just not going to do it live right now. So we're live now on Facebook, and people have found us. Not going to not lose out on the YouTube. There we go. A few people have found us, and we have 9 people watching already that have found us.
See, now I can't even tell how many people are watching us on my screen, but I do see we have some.
Go to my page and then click the thing, and it'll open.
Oh, okay. Well, hey, live is live, and
here we are. Here we are. We're all right.
Here we are.
Got Tony here with us.
We got Tony here with us.
We said, do we call you Anthony or Tony?
Mr. Joseph?
Yeah, I've been called everything. You know, outside of Rome, New York, mostly everybody calls me Anthony. Believe it or not, that's and some of them have been busting my chops, going, "Who the heck is Tony Joe?" But after when I got off to college, my name kept getting backwards all the time. And then I think it was Phil Klein that one day I came in for piano minor class, and he went, Phil was great at knowing where everybody was from. So he makes this flourishing introduction, and now Tony Joe from the bayou of the Mohawk River, you know, from Rome. And so that stuck with me. So call me whatever you're comfortable with. I'm fine.
Tony Joe's good. I like that.
Tony Joe. Yeah. I like
my
that.
softball name.
My
softball name.
That's your, oh, really?
Oh, here we go. I'll take a break. I'll be back because here we go.
No, we're not gonna devolve into a discussion about softball.
That was many moons ago.
Yeah, no. Although I did go to a baseball game a few days ago. We're not going to go there. Hey, we talked about playing. It's up to you guys. Obviously, we just brought Tony Joe on. But I would like to play. Tell you what. Why don't we play a little bit of the video that you sent me?
Okay, cool. Can I set this up a second?
Yeah, and then maybe later on we could play a little bit. There's a great video of you at the Fulton Jazz Festival from, I believe, about 8 years ago. But yeah, do me a favor, because I want to make sure the video's queued up. Set up what we're going to see from back in 1988, right?
Sure. This is the 88 Oswego High School Jazz Ensemble. And the reason I sent this to you to set this up was Nancy was our guest in 1987. Unfortunately, I don't have that video. It's somewhere on a beta tape in the archives at the school. But I was able to get the following year. But the reason I selected this is that at one of our rehearsals, Nancy had mentioned to me that her dad was a big Count Basie fan. So I didn't say anything. I just said, Nancy, bring your father to the next rehearsal. So sure enough, she brings her dad, and so I sat him down right in front of the band, and I had the band kick off the tune that you're going to hear.
Wow. Okay.
We'll talk about that. Your teaching.
Sure.
We play a little bit of this. And by the way, Beth Ann Dice says you will always be Mr. Joseph to me.
Hi, Beth.
All right. Well, let's. I think I have it. I think it's pretty much queued up to the beginning of the song. You want to tell folks what the song is, or you can tell people at the end?
Sure.
We're going to watch the whole tune?
I don't think the song is all that long. It's only a couple, it's a couple minutes, so I think we might be able to get through the
world's greatest shout chorus.
All right, let me make sure we got this going here. Let me go. We're going to share sound.
Everybody needs to know these are high school kids here.
We're going to go full screen. We're going to hit play, and as loud as it gets, unfortunately.
Mhm. Nice copy, man.
Dave Salazzo sounds great. He's got more hair than Dave.
Uh,
Yeah. Hey.
who was that kid?
Eric Rosenberg.
Second time. What do we?
All right. There we go. I just wanted to get the applause in there a little bit. So
I have so many
That's
questions.
fun to relive.
I have so many questions. I don't know where to start.
it.
So many questions. You have no idea. All right.
of course, that was Corner Pocket. Classic.
I got so many questions. Were there other music teachers at this in this school system? Who was teaching all these horn players? Who was teaching this drummer? Where were these kids learning all to play?
At that time, in 1988, by then, I joined Oswego's music staff in 1980. Ed Lisk was already in the high school then, and he had a part-time assistant, and I was given the responsibility of the symphonic band and the jazz ensemble program. So we went along until I think Bill came in the second semester of 1985. And so he was on board there. And all three of us at that time were teaching all of our own students. So whatever kids were in my symphonic band program, whether they played woodwinds, brass, or percussion, that was
I was gonna say
my
you were
responsibility.
teaching. Tell us what instruments you were teaching.
Everything. I did it all. The brass and the woodwinds and the percussion.
And you
But
must play some of these instruments.
sure, oh, my major, you mean? Is that, well, clarinet and stuff, but when you're doing this and you're standing on a podium in front of 80 some kids that are in a concert band program, you have to, I mean, that's what we went to school for, is to learn the ins and outs of the instruments that you're going to be conducting. However, having said that, I was real fortunate because Ed had jazz background and had played in the Three Rivers band. I think he was a guest a couple of times in, sitting in that great section. And Bill was a fine trombonist that came in. And so it was like having a big kid with him. He would sit right in rehearsal. So,
Yeah.
we were,
So we had somebody that played horn, that knew the embouchure and knew how to really. So,
Yeah.
because when I heard the dynamics you were using, well, the thought that came into my mind was, unless you actually play this music, you're not going to be able to convey that to these children. And I thought to myself, this is the luckiest bunch of kids that ever came around the block. There are so few schools that have this kind. I mean, how many schools, to your knowledge right now, and we're talking about high schools. I know you've been retired a while, but still, nevertheless, how many schools do we have within a 200-mile radius that have these jazz bands like this?
Well, surprisingly, there really is some good stuff happening in the schools in this area. As a matter of fact, if I can go back to 1980 when I came here, I inherited the jazz ensemble program, and the first thing I did was take them to the Civic Center in Syracuse. They had what they called the Cultural Arts Council, had a jazz festival. And, my kids did okay, but I heard the Henniker High School Jazz Ensemble, the East Syracuse Manoa Jazz Ensemble, that stuck out in my mind, Auburn with Steve Gage, and Henniker absolutely blew my mind. And Eric mentioned earlier, Dave Salazzo, he was in the band. Well, listen, Rocco Barbado was in that band.
Rocco, we had Rocco on the show.
Yeah.
My first thought was, I want to be able to do that. So I kept going back and listening to some of these outstanding groups to, get my own stuff together. And I want to mention about, I had a good jazz background because my parents really loved music, and Sunday was jazz day. And so I had all of that stuff, but I never played in a big band ever. So, I mean, I basically was a clarinet player right through school. I dabbled in saxophone, but it just wasn't for me. I guess the point I'm trying to make is I had to actually go sit and learn how to do that. And what I did was I took a summer program when I taught in the Maine Enwell School District at Binghamton University with a fellow named Al Ham. And I sat second tenor.
Oh, I know Al. I've worked for him before down in Binghamton.
Yeah. And he, boy, because the point I'm making is that even if you're a player, you have to know the ins and outs of this thing. I mean, I had no idea where the lead alto player sits, and you want to have your first
the mechanics of it. I'm not talking about the mechanics of it. I'm talking about you. This gets deep, because I have this conversation with people all the time. The symphony orchestras all around the world play the same music. It's the conductor that brings out the magic.
I see what you mean. Okay, yeah.
It's the conductor that brings out the magic. That's what I was hearing. You were bringing something out of these kids because it's in you. It's in you. I mean, I want my audience and our audience here to understand the talent that you have. And, it's very evident. All you got to do is listen to that track there, and you can hear. Those kids wouldn't know how to do that without you.
Well, I appreciate that. That's a thing that's consistent in education. My inspirations before I became a teacher were people that were incredibly dedicated. But what always stuck out for me was, you can get kids literally to do anything if you have the passion and you let them know how much you care about them. Because, you know, I'm not the best jazz musician. I wouldn't even
Oh,
enter in.
Bull, excuse me, Bull,
No,
you,
no,
no.
let me make that point. It's you know, once you get your hooks in, and then you bring in people like yourself and these guest artists that have huge impacts on the kids. You know, I've been out 16 years, and I still get emails or messages from kids talking to me about their experiences, and the list went on. And I'm happy to say it's still continuing. If it wasn't for COVID, the fellow who is in my position now, he brought the likes of Ernie Watts to Oswego High School. You
Oh,
know,
what was
and
Ernie there? He's my man. What the heck? I didn't know he was up there.
so yeah, and it's just been a nice long tradition of those kinds of things. But that's what makes it special for the kids, you know, that they know that you really care. Even on your, you know, believe me, I could get really passionate on a podium at times, you know, but the kids tolerated whatever it was to get to that end. And those concerts, coming to Oswego, when I arrived, there wasn't that theater hadn't been built yet. It was in construction.
They're
So
still building up there.
Well, all those years that Oswego, that Ed had a program in the 70s of an outstanding wind ensemble, he was doing it with concerts in the gymnasium. And my first performance, I was in the gymnasium. My first performance with a jazz ensemble was in a little tiny all-purpose room at Layton School. And then the theater got built, and that jazz program just started to, where I think it was right around the time we had Joe Raposo as one of our first guests. We started getting full houses with about a 900-seat place for 18 kids in a jazz ensemble. That's pretty darn good. And it just, but you remember when you were on stage, it was a packed house, and that just became our tradition. Very similar to what West Genesee has. I think they call it Swingin' or Swing Fest. They have the same, Steve Frank did that program for years, and it was the same kind of deal.
I'm sorry, Eric. I know, it's just that I have one more question, Eric.
Listen,
I want you to interject. I have one more question.
I am having a blast just
Okay.
just
So
listening. with this.
How many of these kids have gone on?
Well, it's funny you mentioned that. I really don't know, but that particular band, I think, has 5 or 6 people who went on to teach music. The trumpet player was Jimmy Dumas, who was at Liverpool.
He had a.
Piano.
I know
Yeah.
Jim. Yeah, sure.
Do you, Eric?
Jim, yeah,
piano.
I do. I MC there. Well, not the last couple of years because of the pandemic. But they do for 20 some odd years. They've done a yearly jumping jazz jam.
I was marveling at his.
Liverpool.
Look, these are kids, but I was marveling. He was working his way through the chord change, you know, through the scale in the chord change. I heard his head think. I heard his brain thinking, you know, like how to get through there. And you know, he cracked the note, but you know, that's what I teach my students. I said, look, we all screw up. Trust me, the audience does not care. They don't care.
I didn't hear the note crack, but
But what I was more impressed with was you teaching. I know you taught him to hear that chord and to work through that chord. And someone also taught him timing, like the timing of breathe, the little phrases, you know, breathe. I was just going, wow. See, I was even too young as a jazz artist when I came to you. I know so much more, you know, now. And now I know you're just the coolest guy ever.
Wow. Well, like I said, I mean, that was that moment when your dad came in. That was so special because my kids saw the tears in his eyes, and it reminds me of the tears in my eyes when I used to see my father put a recording of Coleman Hawkins playing Body and Soul, and he would just sit there and stare at the time he called it a Victrola, and you know that does something to you. It touches you, and you know that love that you have inside. And what was I going to say now? It'll come to me.
That moment.
Yeah, it was just that moment was just made it very, very special. You know.
Well, you know, Tony, you said earlier, you said you could get a little passionate when on stage when you're conducting, and I would think that the more passion you show, the musicians, I'm sure, the more passion they see from their conductor, they're gonna feed off of that. So I mean, I wouldn't want to be in a band and see my band director, the person leading the group, not really showing a whole lot of emotion. So I'm sure that that if anything, as a student musician, whether it was in 1988 or whether it's now, they want to feed off the passion of the person who is instructing them, because I feel like it's only going to inspire them, give them more, be more enthusiastic about whether it be a solo or whether it be just the final chorus. So that passion that you exude, I'm sure carries over to your students.
Well, I appreciate that, and I did have those vibes quite a bit with the kids. I'll tell you something kind of related to that, though. I always kind of felt I was getting in their way at times, and I remember going to.
Explain what? In what way?
Well, I'm going to explain. I went to a jazz. I think it was a jazz festival, and then later on, this is a fellow I went to college with when I was at Fredonia, Tom Ellison's band, and he conducted his whole band, if you can call it conducting, sitting in the front row of the theater, and he'd stand up and just counted off for the kids or the stuff and just sat right back down, because most jazz ensembles don't have a conductor per se. So
right.
It really made me want to channel that passion, Eric, that you were talking about, and still have it. But later years, you'll see me, you won't even see me on that camera. I'm out of there because the kids got so into the pride of, literally, we don't need this guy right now. You know what I mean? It just became, it became a beautiful thing. Yeah. Because the work was done in the practice room. Now it's time, and it was kind of a pride thing. Sometimes you do the highlights and conduct that stuff, but I get what you're saying. But those are the little things behind the scenes. Is at least in my career, as time went on, and I go back and I watch some of these videos, and I say that's where I want it to be. And I give Tom credit for that. He was one of a long list of people we had as all-county conductors when we started the all-county jazz program. Oh my gosh, how great for the kids! Mike DeMeo and Steve Gage and like I said, Tom. I shouldn't start mentioning names because I'm gonna forget. Chris Weber. Chris Weber was awesome. I went to one of his clinics, and he was doing a rehearsal, and he called when he when you go to the carnivals and they have that one little dime, 1/10 of a dollar wheel, right? The raffle wheel. So he had one of those wheels, but he put every single instrument on the wheel. So if your rehearsal was going, maybe it was a tough moment or something, he would just spin that wheel and it might land on, let's say, third trumpet. And he'd say, okay, third trumpet, play sections 17 through 55, or from letter A to, and the kids were like really into it. This is the thing he set up. And when you go through a career and you have people like that to share stuff with you, it just you just kind of take it and run with it. So
the intrigue of it all.
Pretty fortunate, because there really are some wonderful such things happening. There's when I went to high school, there was no jazz program. Rick Montalbano was 1 year, I think 1 year ahead of me in school. Joe Furlow was a couple of years behind me, and there were several others. These are just guys that are in my mind now. Hey, oh my gosh, look at that.
Now let me ask you. You said high school. This is correct me if I'm wrong. This is from RFA, right?
That's RFA. It's funny. I have a gig coming up on the 14th of August, and that fellow that's playing clarinet next to me is going to be there. He's coming from Rome.
His name is Joey Cerise.
Oh, I wish he was on Facebook. He'd be dying.
Well,
and he still has that clarinet because several years ago, he asked me to have it overhauled. That's a Paris Yvette Schaefer. I still remember that horn. And I still have that horn that's in that picture. That was my first buffet.
Well,
oh my God.
We're seeing your desktop, and we shouldn't see your desktop, dear.
My desktop? Oh.
You were seeing my desktop?
Yeah, that's okay. That's your private biz.
No, there's nothing.
I know, lots of great pictures. I was checking them out.
I've got a lot of pictures of.
Making faces at me over here, and she told me to make sure I don't put her on camera because she would absolutely freeze. But she's distracting me with our cat Jazz that's walking around.
Oh wait, where's the kitty? We love cat cameos. Can we see Kitty?
Yeah, that's become a staple.
We love it.
That's become a staple of our show. We love kitties.
We love cat cameos.
Come on.
Did I get them, Cass?
Please.
Where are you? In a basement? Is this where they put you?
Hi.
Hello. Oh my God.
Oh.
Beautiful calico. That's a lady, lady, isn't it?
That's the lady.
Oh, she's gorgeous.
And behind her is Jazz, sitting there, and Rudy somewhere. Yeah.
We love the cat cameo.
Yeah, we love cats, dogs. Oh yeah, but
We had litter mates for the first time. So these three came from one litter, and we didn't know the time that we got them that they were part Maine Coon. You know what that is?
Well, that's what I have. Where is
You
my
do?
girlie? I don't think you could see my girlie. I'd have to put up a picture of my girly girl. She's part Maine Coon. I didn't know when the kitten arrived here that this was going to be a cat with 3-inch long hair, hair coming out of our ears, out of her feet, and I have hair everywhere in this
Oh, that's
house.
incredible. We had to buy a special vacuum cleaner.
Which one did you get, by the way?
Dyson has one that's for animal fur, I think, and then some special thing. Well, we didn't know. These are only part Maine Coon, and they weigh 20+ pounds.
No, it's crazy.
And they're all multi-toed, and of course, like I said,
They're an amazing animal, and she purrs a lot. She just sits around and purrs. I'm going, what are you so freaking happy about?
And these three, wherever Kathy goes, they're like glued to her. They do everything together still after they're over 12 years old now. They eat together. They lay down on the bed together and all that stuff. And it's a lot of cat. Believe me, we had to get a king size bed to accommodate it. It was a lot of cat.
I always keep an eye on Nancy's screen, but occasionally in the background.
I was going to try to find a picture, but I don't
walks
use
around.
my photos on my computer as much as I do on my phone.
Oh,
You know what I mean? So I wouldn't know where to find a picture of this little girl. But she's a beautiful baby girl. I know she's on my Facebook page. But we don't talk about cats. We're being silly cat parents. That's ridiculous.
I'll tell you what, I have to say thanks to Tony and his Facebook page, because that's where I was able to find that picture of you and Joey from your RFA days.
Class of '69.
Class of '69. Wow.
Shout out to anybody that's from the class of '69 at RFA. It was a great class and a great time to grow up. I mean,
but no, you touched on it earlier. I mean, there are just so many outstanding jazz programs that have been in this region for so long, and some directors have stayed there for a long time. And again, you mentioned Henniger, whether it's RFA or West Jenny. I think you talked about Steve Frank. I think of Bill Davern, and of course Steve Deffren, who's
wait a minute, I'm going to do this.
You want to see Nancy's cat?
There she is, Miss Squeaker.
That's Abigail Squeaker.
Oh,
Isn't she pretty?
Oh,
She's as soft as a bunny.
she multi-toed? She
No,
must be,
she's
right?
gray and white. But
That's
she's
cute.
soft, just like a bunny. Sorry, I had to do that.
no, but don't ever apologize for sharing a picture of Abigail. I think that's the first time you've ever shared a picture of her.
That's great.
She's a very private lady.
Oh,
Man, I wish I could partake in this cat discussion. I mean, I did have a cat at one time, but
Kitties are great because for those of us that are busy, they're great because they just do their own thing and you don't have to worry about it. And I was just gone for 2 days and she didn't even care that I came in the front door. She came down when it's time to have tuna. Like, where's my tuna, Mom? I love it. Some people don't like that aloofness. I like it.
oh, by the way, Joe,
What? We're still up on YouTube?
our good pal Joe Cortini was nice enough to send me this information. I want to pass it along to everyone that this coming Thursday, August 5th, the Anthony Joseph Swingtet is performing.
Ooh, tell us. Where? What, when, what, where?
Well, I'm sure Tony can tell us, but I'll let folks know. And if I'm wrong, it's Tony, along with Dave and Mike Salazzo, Joe Furlow, Joe Cortini at Voorhees. That's at Voorhees Park in Fulton, 179 South 3rd Street this Thursday from 6:30 to 8. Dollar ice cream sundaes. It says bring a chair and a smile, and it's sponsored by the Fulton Jazz Fest. So this Thursday, the 5th, the Anthony Joseph Swing Tet in Fulton. So
I should say that it's sponsored by the Lions Club, Fulton's Lions Club.
Oh, they're always wonderful.
oh, okay, okay.
Now, the Lions Club. What
Yeah.
is the Lions Club about? What do they do? Do you know?
Well,
They keep
lots
us,
of things for
they
the
keep the
community
Lions
and-
away from us.
has to do with eyeglasses, and they get eyeglasses for folks who need them, and they do stuff with vision things and a lot of community stuff
Right.
in that vein, and they sponsor events to raise money and
Well,
so
they
forth.
always sponsor for Fulton Jazz.
Yeah.
Always, yeah.
And the gazebo that we're going to be performing in is in memory of, if you know Steve Chiarello, I'm sure you do, trombone player, singer, Steve's dad, Leo. So,
Oh, right. Okay. Yeah. Yeah.
so we're going to have Steve will be there, I'm sure, with his family, and we're going to invite Steve up to do a couple tunes with
Oh,
us.
that'll be great. Now, wait a minute. Tell what day of the week is it again? Because my life is insane.
It's Thursday.
Thursday.
It's Thursday, August 5th.
What time?
6:30 to 8.
Okay.
And I realized I was reading the flyer that Joe sent me, and Joe just clarified for me that, in fact, it is the Dollar Ice Cream Sundaes that is sponsored by the Fulton Jazz Fest. But the performance itself is presented, and in fact, it says it right on the flyer, and I just didn't read it. Yes, the Fulton Lions Club presents Tony and his Swing Tet. Again, it's you, Dave Salazzo, Mike Salazzo, Joe Furlow, and Joe Cortini. In fact, I've got a funny about Joe Furlow. I got a picture, and I promise this time you are not going to see my desktop. You shouldn't.
Thank you.
No desktop, right?
Oh, that's
You're
a
good.
nice picture.
That
Oh,
was 2013, Tony, and that's Joe Furlow on guitar.
There's Paulie Shree's truck with all his magic stuff.
Oh yeah, look at that.
Bill,
Oh, there's the wonderful smiling Mike.
Bill Palange on trombone, and is it Cortini on drums?
No, I think that's Jimmy Johns for that gig.
Oh, he's blonde.
Whoa.
Okay, we can't see the drummer, unfortunately,
I
but
think that might. Joel, no, he's probably typing in now.
He's
I
typing
know
it right now, I'm sure.
I think
but,
Jimmy played one of.
go ahead.
I think Jimmy played one of those. I couldn't tell back there.
Yeah, that's a fun.
Like it's that. I don't know.
That's
Joe,
a
to our rescue here.
that's a fun
I
event.
want to mention something. I've been watching these. I don't catch them always on live, but I've caught them on YouTube, and a couple of. I saw several. Of course, I saw Rick's and Joe Cortini's, and something that Joe Magnarelli said hit home with me when he was talking. Well, a couple of things. One was he talked about during COVID. I think Nancy or Eric asked him what he was playing, and he had said that he got away from playing jazz, and he'd gone back in and played a lot of what you call legit literature, and that's exactly what I did. It's for the last year and a half, I went flying back into stuff I had done in college, both with Jerry Zampino, who was my clarinet teacher at OCC, and James East, who was my teacher at Fredonia. And I still saved a lot of the concertos and etudes and studies. And I was getting right into it, like working for a couple hours a day. And I got so far away. I mean, listening to jazz and it's in my heart and soul and all that, but I didn't play very much of it because it's kind of hard to have a conversation with one person. And it was just something about those studies that were just for clarinet. And the other thing he mentioned was the San Andreu jazz program in Barcelona, Spain, with those young kids.
Yeah.
And actually, if you go on YouTube, you'll see Joe performing with them, and also who's a great tenor man from Providence, Rhode Island, Scott Hamilton. He's there. That's an amazing program. It completely blows my mind. It actually makes me a little bit jealous to think that Spain treats the American art form like jazz so sacred like that and can turn out kids
Well,
like
that's the
that.
whole world. I mean,
Yeah.
you know, I don't. We go down this rabbit hole a lot, and it
I
doesn't
know.
matter. But we're very uncultured. We're very uncultured in this
Well,
country. Sorry,
miss
it's true.
well, we miss in my teaching, when I decided I wanted to become a teacher, there wasn't a single course on jazz. Matter of fact, Fredonia was actually noted for having the jazz program that was a teacher sponsored it, but it was like, just lack of a better term, kind of underground, and they were awesome. I mean, from the years before I got there in '71, they had an amazing jazz program, winning festivals all the time. But no, so here people were like me, were coming out to become teachers and hadn't had even a mention about, in the studies about doing the jazz program. That's what I was referring to earlier. So you kind of do it on the fly. I was lucky, but what people would say to me, well, you're a jazz player, no wonder your jazz program is going to be rolling right along. And my answer would be, man, I never played in a big band. You have to go and you have to, talk to the cats, and, just like you did for the concert literature that you're going to conduct, or you're going to conduct a chorus, or, if you're going to be a musician, this is part of our thing. And we kind of let it go. We've let it go for a very long time. And it's such a wonderful, rich culture. The American,
When did you start?
Great American Songbook.
How old was little Tony Joe when he got the clarinet in his hand? Or
Well,
was it an instrument
I got lucky. I had an uncle who played a little bit, so he gave me one of those metal clarinets. But I knew the tunes before the school started me, which was in 5th grade. Because like I say, my dad every Sunday put records on, and I knew the names of, who's playing in Eddie Condon's band. He was a big Dixieland fan, but he also turned me on to John Coltrane and Charlie Parker. I can remember hearing over and over again Charlie Parker with Strings Attached, that great string recording of Just Friends, and that intro that he plays. It's just marvelous. I mean, way back, so I was kind of lucky. I could sing you and whistle a lot of those tunes, and I couldn't play anything yet until I got to 5th grade. I had a wonderful starting teacher. I want to mention this too, because Steve Brown referred to this in his session with you guys, talking about solfeggio. Him and Jamie Aebersold are the two greatest I've ever seen in my life. But when I was at Fort Stanwix Elementary School in Rome, New York, going to school like everybody else, and I can't remember exactly what grade, but I'm going to guess maybe 4th grade. I don't recall 3rd grade, but it was a long time ago. But definitely 5th and 6th grade, we had a music teacher named Mrs. Sheequin, who used to come into our music class, and she would write the syllables on the blackboard. Do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do. Yes, and we just take her hand and go like this, and we would go do, mi, re, fa, mi, sol, fa, la, sol, ti, la, do, ti, re, do, sol, do. Oh, I said that kind of wrong. Do, mi, sol, re, fa, la, mi, sol, ti, fa, la, do, sol, ti. Arpeggios. She had us doing the chromatic, do, re, mi, fa, fi, sol, si, la, li, ti, do, and the syllables. So I never mentioned it was solfeggio, but it was a thing. And the kids, I could just remember my class, we'd all get into it, and her hand would go up and down, and we sang all this stuff. And then I get to OCC in 1969, and they got to take a 2-hour course. It's called solfeggio in the Melodia book. And I go, oh, that's what that is. And we did everything on. So she was, now it's hand signed solfeggio. It's from the Kodaly method of music. We had John Armstrong as a teacher at Oswego City, our vocal teacher. He had the chorus doing it. I used to warm up my kids with a ti, do, sol, mi, do of the B flat chord, right? Because concert B flat is a good note for all band instruments. This is not the jazz band, but that too. But I would do it like this. T, and the kids would play a concert A, and then they play a concert B flat, and then they play a concert F, and a concert D, and a concert B flat. T, do, and because so many of my kids that were also in chorus were doing these hand signs, and to go and to watch the chorus, they have their music in one hand, and they're actually doing the hand signs while they're singing. That's great stuff.
That's crazy.
Oh, wow.
I never learned so much. I don't even know. I just know intervals. I just know, 1, 2, 1, 3, 1, 4, 1, 5.
Well, that works too. I mean, if it works, it's fine. And when I got to Fredonia and they gave me my sight singing audition, they just said to me, sing it on La. And I remember saying to
La,
him, do you
la,
mind if I
la,
just,
la,
mind
la,
if I just do
la,
it
la,
on
la.
syllables? It was just easier on syllables.
But
So,
you're talking about something that's very dear to my heart, and I always feel so sad. I don't want to say sad, but I want to say I feel bad for the students that come to me and have so much passion, but they come to me in the middle of the journey, and I say, I hate I don't want to make you feel challenged and bad, but I did this since I was 3,
Hmm.
like 4. It's people like you and I, Tony, it's all we've ever done. Is music, music, music. I mean, I've just never done anything else, and it's you kind of they say that the definition of genius is paying attention to one thing. I think that's an interesting.
That's a great, that's a great,
Yeah, really, seriously. So, have you done anything else? I mean, did you have a vegetable cart?
would you like me to turn this over to my pool table that's right over there?
What's going on over there, man?
That's been my passion.
Oh, you're a hustler? Ah!
Well,
we got Minnesota Fats here.
if you got any spare change on you, we can talk about it. No, believe me, in high school, I had 3 major interests, and they were in no
Girls?
particular order.
Girls.
Yeah, well, that kind of went without saying.
We were all young ones.
That's right. But I
You're
had a baseball
young,
mitt.
Eric.
I had a baseball mitt on my handlebars, a cue stick waiting for me up in the pool room, and my clarinet. So I was, in some ways I was lucky, in some ways I wasn't, because I didn't do what Nancy was just talking about, focusing on exactly one thing. I really got into playing pool, and I was very fortunate because I kind of learned. Well, there's not a right and wrong way, but I didn't learn the hustler way. We were all straight pool players. It was a whole bunch of kids. It was more of like a teen club up there. It kept
Was
us
this
out of
up in
trouble.
Oswego or Rome?
Yeah, this is in Rome. This is in Rome, where I grew up. And many of those guys up there were musicians also. But there's just the concentration and what it takes to be a pool player. Just I'm like, I always call myself a serious pool player. I'm not great, but I'm serious about. I'm a student of the game. I love to go to the Turning Stone and see the pros. And
Do you really?
Wow.
Yeah.
Fun is that? I would love to go watch that.
Yeah, they unfortunately it's the COVID again but they have 2 tournaments a year, one in January or around there, in August or September, and all the folks that you used to see on TV are there, and a lot of the young ones that are coming up, and it's amazing to watch. But so to answer your question, yeah, I had a couple of different interests.
So,
Joe Cortini says, Tony, don't play Anthony if money is involved.
Oh,
so Tony,
those days.
Did he whoop your butt or something?
so Nancy knows me well enough to know when I hear something, it registers. I'm like, all right, I got to see, is there anything I can find maybe on Tony's Facebook page that involves billiards? And
Billiards?
Well, pool.
Wait, billiards is
Billiards.
Wait a minute. That's what did you call it? Literature? Wait a minute, isn't it? Pool involves a whole smoke.
All right, fine. Pool. And I was able to find this picture, and it's it's the only picture I could find that is you and a whole bunch of guys at a billiards table.
Oh,
look at this. Oh, this is great.
So
that's that. The fellow in the middle is Joey Cerese, who was playing the clarinet.
Oh, that's Joey. Okay.
And these are all friends of mine from the class of '69 or maybe '68.
Oh, this is a terrific photo. Thank you, Eric.
Well,
and this is. I'm so great. I'm glad that you found this, because this is a mini reunion that we've been doing for several years, and every single one of those guys hung out in the pool room. So we get together like again, COVID stopped, but that was at that particular place is at Jim Segura. He's the one with the glasses next to Joey at his house. He's got a beautiful setup, and we're looking forward to doing it again. I mean, all the
related to Chucky, Jim Segura.
Yeah, I thought the same thing. Yeah.
Yeah, no, not that one.
No.
A bunch of those Segura.
And some of these guys I'm going to see at my gig coming up at Canales. That's a great picture.
Yeah.
What a great.
There's a couple hustlers in there. I won't name any names.
I also did find a picture of you as a
What is
hustler.
it? This is your life.
What's that?
I said it's like this is your life.
Well, yeah, I mean,
It's just jazz, man. We go from one thing to another. It's stream of consciousness. We don't plan anything out. I think, and that's what our listeners like. It's like we're sitting around the table, like crack open another beer, talk about this thing. When I was a kid, man, my parents had a lot of great friends, and the ones that had pool tables, they knew Nancy was going to be entertained for hours, because I was always drawn, where is the pool table? And I would go play. I was never probably very good at it, but I loved it. And I'm just saying, I share. How about you, Eric? Did you ever shoot pool?
I did. I used to shoot pool a lot with my best friend from elementary school. He's the one guy I still keep in touch with. I was in first grade with him, my old buddy Richie, and we would shoot pool. I mean, we haven't shot a game of pool in a long time, but he was always better than me too. It doesn't matter whether we played 8-ball, what you name it. And he's very competitive, and I'm very competitive too. And I thought I was okay for somebody that only played a couple of times a year, but I swear I could never get the better of him. Now, if I played a guy who looked like this, there's no way I'm gonna beat him. There's no way I'm gonna beat a hustler like this. I'll be broke.
Tony's like, there. He's going, this is my life.
Hey, try me at pool, huh? I'll clean out your freaking wallet.
Yo, wait a minute. I got a guy. Right here.
That's what he said in there. I got a guy.
$2. Look at Tony.
Oh God, that's the riot. That was a roaring 20s party my wife and I went
I know, you were so funny. I remember seeing you on Facebook with that. I said, what are
that's such a great hat.
The caption for that is, how you doing?
How you doing?
How are you doing?
You need anything, you
What
call
do you mean?
It's one of the reasons why I love to go back to my hometown, because that culture is I'm only half Sicilian, but it's enough. You feel like you're full blooded when you're in Rome.
Yeah.
Because, the city motto is the city motto of Rome, New York is, what are you looking at? That's the
Now, are both the guys in this picture? Is this a full?
These pictures from Eric.
Oh
Does this make a full Sicilian, a half and a half? Is that
yeah. I was just looking at that yesterday. That's my brother Ron.
That's Ronnie.
What?
That's Ronnie.
I think that's it in the eyebrows.
I think that's at his son's wedding, and or maybe it's his wedding. I can't remember. I already lost my jacket. Boy, was I a lot larger then. Holy cow. Thanks for that. I look like a planet next to him. Ronnie, incidentally, is really a fine clarinetist. I mean, he's my brother, so I'm a little biased, but we go back all the way to the days where I used to chase him out of my practice room, because he was always there trying, what are you doing? How you doing it? So he went he's 3 years younger than me. And I always love to tell the story where I'd be in there, scuffling, because back then there was no jazz education, man. Because I wanted to play, I would put the records on and try to imitate Benny Goodman as close as I could get. And my parents would bring people, oh, Anthony's going to play Avalon, and he's going to play it just like the record, So I was doing that and developing my ear without knowing it, but I didn't know what I was doing except imitating this person. But Ronnie would stand next to me, and I'd try something like slip disc, which is really kind of tough to play when you're young on clarinet. And he'd say, well, let me try. And he'd just grab my horn and he could play it. So of course, being the older brother, I'd get out of here, But he's really a fine player. sadly, and I'm happy for him, he's got a lot of gigs, but he has to drive to the other side of Rochester and Buffalo to play because he is the style of music that he plays and the players. There's very few of the folks that play trad jazz that are left that really know the book at the level that he is. So he goes out and he plays with people like Tim Clark and Ray Skowski and those cats that are doing that out there. But if you ever get a chance to hear him, he's on YouTube. He's really something. I'm so proud of my brother.
Do you remember? I'm going to jog your memory here. Do you remember? No, don't worry. I'm not putting up another picture just yet. Do you remember like the very first concert you went to? You attended? Was it a jazz show or was it?
Yeah, it was a phenomenal thing happened at RFA. We didn't have a jazz program. We had a school that we did an exchange concert with that brought their jazz program. So we were chomping at the bit going, oh, this kid got up on a trumpet and he played Stardust. And, but my teacher just didn't, that just wasn't part of the thing happening. And, but right shortly after that, I don't know who brought them in. I'll never remember, but the Airmen and Notes Rome Free Academy.
Oh.
And that was the first big band concert that I saw in school like that. Luckily, my mom had a job at the Beaches. It was a famous place that had.
It was a great place. It's not there anymore, or whatever. It closed or something.
Yeah, it's being sold, I guess. Or, but they brought in the Glenn Miller Orchestra. Buddy DeFranco was running it. My mom worked in the gift shop, so she got me a spot sitting right in front of the band. And so those were my first two, like for big band and stuff. Yeah. And then it just kind of went from there. I got the Count Basie band came to Beach Lee's restaurant just outside of Utica. And this is beautiful. It was snowing and a lousy night. And we got there late. And my dad, my mom, and I can't remember if my brother was there or not, probably. But yeah, well, so the bus had broken down. So they were coming in from Watertown or something, coming down to play this gig. The cats were tired, but the guy said, geez, Mr. Joseph, I only have terrible seats left. And my dad said, well, where are they? They were right, I'm telling you, right in the rhythm section. I could have reached out and touched Freddie Green the whole time he was playing. It's like, lousy seats, are you kidding me? This is great. So, and they had a new drummer that night. And I always wanted to think it was Dave Mancini, but I asked him later on.
I know Dave. I've worked with him many times. Yeah.
There was never any book for the Basie drum cat. You had to come in, and the saxophone section would do not terrible things. They would really stretch him out. They'd go laying way back and stuff. Well, this particular night, this fellow was on playing, and there were moments where Freddie Green would just grab him by the arm and then let him go and say, okay, here's what this fill is. I was seeing all this. At one point, Count Basie starts the tune, just his usual 12-bar blues, right? And whatever tune they called, everybody's going like this. And Billy Easley is playing lead alto that night. He can't find his chart. I mean, I'm watching down the thing, and he's going like this. And Count looks up and goes, okay, let's go around again. And so I was like, it was like I was in the rhythm section at this particular bit. And it was just a wonderful concert. Even though sitting to the side like that, Count Basie even came over and had a drink at our table. A wonderful experience to have.
What a memory.
Did you ever see the Count live, Eric?
No, I never. Man. I mean, some of my biggest regrets was never getting to see Basie live. Unfortunately, I never got to see Dizzy live, even though he came and played Syracuse Jazz Fest. But I never
saw Dizzy.
I wasn't in Syracuse yet. I mean, I've seen mostly at the Liverpool event that I've emceed over the years. They've had the Basie band and the Ellington band and the Woody Herman Orchestra, but
to have seen tribute orchestra.
But to, and again, to have seen
our girl Carmen plays with the Basie band.
Yeah.
Carmen.
But to have seen Basie himself, I mean,
I saw him.
You did?
Yeah, I would like to.
It was at they used to call it the top of the plaza at Midland Plaza in Rochester.
Wow.
I went up there and stood right next to the piano.
Oh.
How about that?
And I can remember thinking to myself, you got to go with me. I'm a young girl, maybe 21 or 22, young. and I wasn't really into jazz yet. And I kept thinking, man, he doesn't play very many notes, man. And I think I said something to him. I said, "But you don't play too many notes, do you?" And then he said, "I don't have to, little girl."
You just made me think of a good too many notes story. I hope I don't get in trouble for
Oh, go ahead.
Oh, you won't. You
That's
won't.
what we do.
this. Rick Montalbano had contacted me a few years ago. See, growing up, the Savoy, that you've heard, the restaurant on Dominic Street, they used to have a jazz festival. And I remember going as a kid and hearing, all these great players. And Jack Palmer, the trumpet player that was really good friends with Jackie Gleason, and I can do several stories on him. Jack came back to Rome, and he'd often be a part of this deal. And he actually opened up the Palmer House, and he was bringing in people. I got to meet Gene Krupa, Charlie Ventura. So, Rome's had a long tradition. So Rick called me up and he says, "Hey man, we're going to do the jazz festival at Savoy again. Would you mind putting together a Dixie band?" And at the time, just to relate that story, when you're a clarinet player and you want to get into jazz, Dixieland is just a natural, and every day.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I was doing that, and so I said, "Sure, I will." And I think I had Bruce Fairbanks on trumpet for that one, and maybe Jimmy Butler on trombone, or Dick Chave. Let's see, Bob Robinson, or I can't remember, on piano. I think it was Bob on piano, and Ray Shiner was on bass.
Oh,
Chuck
yeah.
Moore.
Oh,
So
great.
I went and I picked up Ray because Ray was living in Jamesville. Shorty had passed away since then. So we were driving together, and the way down, Ray was talking to me about guys playing too many notes. There's a Savoy right there, yeah. And they used to put a tent right next to it, and right,
Sure.
the Mohawk River's right to the right there in the
I did
picture.
a couple of those.
Yeah, oh gosh, I got stories about the Savoy since I was 16 years old.
What you were saying
sitting
about
in my-
Ray?
Yeah, well, so Ray, he's telling me these stories. We're talking about, I was just forming this small group, and we were working together because I had never done this before. I'm playing Dixieland jazz. You never play the melody. I didn't know any songs I could play around everything. So this is no lie. And I'm going to
I know the changes, but who knows what the melody even is?
no kidding. Or just forget the lyrics, which are beautiful. I went back. It's like songs you never knew. Jimmy Aebersold has that thing, songs you thought you knew. I mean, that was me. I was like, I thought I knew this. So Ray's going on about, less is better. The famous Dizzy quote. You made me think of it, Eric, when you mentioned Dizzy. It's not the note you play, it's the note you don't play, or something along that.
Hello. Yeah.
Right. So now we
That's
perform.
a Dizzy quote?
Yeah, I think so. I think it's Dizzy, or
I
maybe
got
Miles.
this thing up on my wall from Thelonious Monk. It has the same.
Well, maybe it's Monks. Oh, there's
I don't know, but anyway, yeah.
So now, by the way, no pressure. I can't remember if this was the night Chris Vidala was on the bill, right? And
Oh,
One of the world's nicest gentlemen.
yeah. God, I miss
Uh,
Chris. Yeah.
he was one of our jazz guests too. Yeah, rest in peace. What a great guy. So we performed, and I can't remember if Chris was before or after, and we got done. Well, now what Rick had done is he set up like 300 something years of jazz. He brought up, I think his name is Rico Zizzi from Binghamton, great jazz guitar player. He had Al Galladoro on alto sax and clarinet. Al is a virtuoso monster player, and he was old, and could still do the things he could do. And Jack Palmer, who played the trumpet, and had been in New York.
No, never
Pardon
mind.
me? Yeah. So they got up to play, and I can't remember the tune. It was like Lady Be Good or something like that. And we're sitting in the front now. Ray's sitting right across from me, and Al Galladoro took like 9 choruses on the clarinet.
Woo, good
Everyone
thing.
is virtuoso. And then he picks up the alto sax and he does like another dozen choruses, and it's like watching a cartoon with, he's got elderly fingers that are misshapen and stuff, and he's still able to do it, and he can double and triple tongue. And so the whole time Jack Palmer is sitting on the stool just staring down at his trumpet like this. Now it comes time for Jack Palmer to play. He walks up to the mic and he goes, one note, pow, and he goes, "That's the only note you left me, pal." And he sits down. And Ray is yelling at me across the table, going, "See what I mean? Too many notes, too many notes." It was one of those great nights. Yeah, Al, what a monster. It was
Al
a real treat.
Galadoro. Yeah,
Yeah, real treat to meet him.
I bet.
That's so funny. Is your clarinet nearby?
Well,
I want you to show people with triple tongue.
my reed has got it.
Don't
sitting here.
start with this read stuff. No, man, don't start with that. You're like me going, I don't know, I got a sinus infection. I can't sing. I go to.
It was more like, "Here, twist my arm."
There we go.
Show us what can you do triple tonguing?
Oh, I can't. No, do you want me to demonstrate that? No, that's really tough to do on. Saxophone's got a little bit bigger mouthpiece, but I can't even double tongue.
Oh, so you're doing this on the bottom of the reed. Like that.
It's really a T and a K, or you can say kitty, but you're not starting with the tongue that way. Yeah, ticka 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 is the way I learned it. T and a K. But brass players use it all the time. They're all double tonguing, that kind of stuff. But he was doing it, and just it was amazing. It's faster than you can think. But the guy, he was a virtuoso, and it was amazing that he was down in Oneonta, New York, living. And it's like this person that when he went to the Sigurd Rascher National Saxophone Seminar, he walked in the door and people stood up and applauded, and he didn't think anybody knew who the heck he was, but people did. They knew. I remember him telling me that story. It's a cool story. Yeah, Al is something. I had a treat one night. Johnny Salerno, who was a jazz clarinetist in Rome, he'd just gotten too old to play, but they were celebrating his 80th birthday and asked me if I would come in and play. And I said, sure, because I grew up listening to Johnny and I knew some of the things that he had done. And when I started to play, Al was there. And all of a sudden he picks up his soprano and stood next to me, and we played some stuff together. So that was kind of cool. That's one of the beauties of really all music, but especially jazz is, man, it's just like this neat little family. You can be playing and people say, wow, you guys didn't even practice. Well, we already practiced. We learned the language long ago, man. Now we're just bringing somebody in to join the conversation, and it's just the coolest. It's the power of music. I mean, Nancy, I visited my mother yesterday, and when I was thinking about
mother.
Yes, my mother is 100.
How old is your mother?
100.
Oh,
and you know what? I want to tell you this. I said to her, I'm going to be doing this thing tomorrow night with Nancy Kelly. First thing out of her mouth, and it was that she remembers you singing "Over the Rainbow" and what that did to her at that time. You probably don't remember, but you went over, you held her hand, you talked to her. She never forgot that.
Now that you said it.
Well, those things are they're just priceless. We've all had those experiences, musicians, where people, you play something and somebody says they remember, like when "I'll Be Seeing You," you play that, and the folks that lived during World War II, that song, it just gets to you. And it's just, once again, that power of music. And when we were talking earlier about trying to relate that to the kids, that's really where it's at. They come away, they're not all going to become musicians, but you teach them as if they were. And the longevity may not be that they went into music, but I can't tell you how many times I have kids say to me, my granddaughter or my child is going to be playing now, and they're so proud. And if I had a nickel for every time I heard a kid say, "Why did you ever let me quit?" or "I wish I didn't quit," or "I wish I still was playing," because it's that, when you get touched like that, no matter where it comes from, you just never let it go.
I love the fact that, Nance, that Tony mentioned virtually the same thing that Steve Brown mentioned last week, and that you've had the chance over the years to hear back from some of your.
Steve said that. I was with Steve last night, man.
Oh, you were?
Oh, yeah, wow.
He was on the date.
Oh, he was at the gig, and you were in Elmira, yeah.
He's playing better than I've ever heard him, and he's 78 years old.
About that.
But he
didn't interrupt the flow there.
No, but I mean, just the fact that both of you, with all your years of jazz education, you and Steve, it's got to be special to hear back.
It really is.
former students,
know-
or as Steve called them, disciples.
Yeah, it really is. And you know something, that's where Facebook, I mean, there's a lot of evils in social media.
Yes, there are.
But I've tailored my Facebook to, I like impressionistic art, so I get stuff from Monet and Van Gogh almost every single day. We talked about pool. I get that, and I get music, and my most fun thing is I hear from the former kids, and it's just great because I started in '73 in a school in Schenectady, New York, called Draper School, Draper High School, and I hear from those kids. And then I had 6 years at Maine Enwell Junior High with a monster program. I don't mean just mine. I'm just saying when I got there, I was so intimidated. I almost didn't want the job because they were talking a language I hadn't heard about. Just an incredible program. And then coming to Oswego, and how fortunate I've been to be surrounded by, great colleagues and also have wonderful kids. So it's just that whole ball, But Eric, I didn't want to forget this too, because you gave me one of those priceless moments too in my life.
Well, let's
And
hear it.
Did I really?
This is one of those. This is one of those you read those Saturday
I don't
morning
sing
novels.
over the rainbow. But go ahead.
I don't either anymore.
Anyway, I should not have interrupted. Go ahead, please.
Oh no, this is cool, man. That's great. That's awful funny. Somewhere, let's see, it was like early 2000s when I decided I was going to continue with the small combo. I think Diana Krall had come out with the Nat King Cole stuff, and I was already listening to Nat King Cole, and it just people were digging it. It's like, you know what, this kind of a setting would really work in clubs and restaurants because it's not too loud, and it's wonderful music, the songbook. And I was kind of scared. I was like, wow, can I really do this without a good percussionist behind me? Can the clarinet make it with just the bass, or sometimes I think Joe Furlow and I did a couple of duos together even. But so I was still a little timid because I was developing my book and learning these tunes, like I said, that I never really learned.
What year was this again?
But I must say, I started the swing set in the early 90s, but this was like 2000 when I decided maybe it's time to make a CD. And my intent was to just make it as a demo to give it to restaurants. So we just did a couple of choruses of tunes and say, this is what you'll get. It's a nice, pleasant sound and so forth if you're interested. It's because especially the poor clarinet's got such a bad reputation. You just say, I play clarinet, oftentimes you hear, oh, the squeaky and the squawk and that kind of stuff. So
man,
put it on for people to listen to and see what they think. So Barry Fairbanks and I were already gigging together, miss him terribly, and Matt Picanti. So Matt had offered, he had a studio at his house, and we recorded our CD, and I think we got 6 or 7 in the can, and unfortunately Barry took ill and he passed away before we ever finished the project. So it didn't get completed until 2007, and Joe Furlow, I think, played the other tracks, 4 or 5 tracks that we put down. And so I was giving it out to different restaurants and things like that. And, I wasn't really there to make any money on it or anything. People would say, why don't you sell it and stuff? I might have sold a couple, I can't remember, but mostly it was that. And I sent one to WAER.
Oh, I know where this story's going.
Yeah.
I remember.
Now I'm back in Rome visiting my folks, right?
Oh,
I hadn't
I know.
It is true, absolutely true. I hadn't said anything to them, and I had no idea. I usually would stay till sometimes 7 or 8 o'clock, sometimes 9 o'clock before I could get back. They were getting on in age and stuff and just doing things. And so we had AER on. And my dad just loved that radio station, and so we put it on, and I was just getting ready to leave, and all of a sudden I hear one of our cuts off my CD, and I think it was the first time you ever played it, and that was like, so that was just that priceless moment. Here I am with my parents, and it's like, hey, that's me.
The first time you hear yourself on.
Thank you for that memory, man.
Oh man, hearing that story, I'm sorry I didn't play like 3 tracks in a row, but I'm glad I created that memory for you.
I was frantically dialing, but the number was busy.
Was it?
So many people calling it. So where is that? That's cuts are not up on YouTube and things. We can't.
There's a couple of cuts on YouTube, and there's a couple of live ones too. I think of Fayetteville Library. You know, those are the great gigs. You know, where the actually folks listen.
Why don't we play one, Eric? Do you have?
Well, yeah, I've got one queued up, and funny what we're going to hear briefly was that picture we saw where the drummer was blocked out, and Joe Cortini texted me. In fact, it was Jimmy, and yeah, you know what? As we get towards wrapping things up, although we did start a little late, but yeah, this is going to be you and Mike Salazzo, Joe Furlow, Bill Palange, and Jimmy on drums from the Fulton Jazz Fest, and it's
shout out to Bill Palange because I know he's listening, and Bill's dealing with TMJ, so it's like I'm abbreviated because all these gigs I haven't had. He's been next to me for literally almost every single one.
And he
so
was with you when I saw you at the Coloca Jazz Fest.
Yeah, that's right. And we're hoping he's going to be back with us on September 11th. We're going to perform at the Music Hall in Oswego. I'm
doing one of those.
Yay!
You just found me. I'm going, you just found me.
Wait till I see them. I've dropped your name a million times over there.
Oh, like what happened with that?
We talked about doing one together one time.
Yeah, the woman Ellen came out to see me. It was so funny, man. She came up to me. She goes, "Oh yes, you're the kind of act we like." And I'm going.
They're going to be. Oh man, have you got a date?
Yeah, October 23rd, I think it is.
Oh, 23rd.
Yeah.
Cool. Make sure we're there.
She says, but you can't bring drums. It's very loud in here. I said, don't worry. My drummer's like, he doesn't even want to play. So don't worry about it.
that's
So don't worry. He'd just be going.
all right. So let's enjoy a little bit of Tony, Joe, Bill, Mike Salazzo, Jimmy Johns. This is Autumn Leaves from the 2013 Fulton Jazz Fest. We'll listen to the first couple of minutes. Let me full screen it here, and
oh, look at that.
away we go.
A little bit here, since we still have autumn. You kind of felt.
There's no video?
They say the weather is going
Oh,
to
actually, you know
That is
what?
Jimmy.
warm for us in central New York is what, 50?
It's just a picture.
I guess it's just the. You know what? I saw the picture and I thought it was going to be a video. Oh, so it's just the audio.
That's all right. We can listen. Hey, all right, go to a bus.
I wasn't sure where it was going. Yeah. Gotta hear a little more. Bill off, but I'm glad we got a chance. Let me stop the share here so we can get back to.
Could you hear yourself?
Unfortunately, yes.
Oh, stop it! Come on.
No, nobody. I never like to listen to myself.
No, nobody wants to sleep. We don't want to look at ourselves or hear ourselves.
Now, Nancy.
I know
Nancy,
it's bad enough. I've got to look at that little teeny picture of my round head right there this whole time. But I keep making faces at myself.
if I said to Nancy, Nancy, I'm going to play an audio recording of Tony Joseph, just by hearing those drums, would you have known? I said, can you tell me who the drummer is? Would you be able to know right away that was Jimmy? Yeah. See, I knew. You just could.
Well, I mean, our drummer pool up here is rather limited, so
that's a good point. But yeah, but
So,
his timing is.
sound like.
Yeah.
I know who leans in and who doesn't, and we're all getting old. We all leaning back in the chair.
I'll tell you, my dad was a master at that. I mean, you know, when you think back on the technology that he had to go by with Victrolas, and I mean, his early record collection was one tune on a side because it was a 78, you know, with a spiked needle. My dad, I'm telling you, right to the day he took his last breath, if I could pick up an album and just put it on and I'd say, Dad, who's that? He'd say, oh, that's Prez, or that's Ben Webster. That's Billy Butterfield playing trumpet, or that's Chet Baker. He was incredible at it, and never was wrong. Sometimes I say to him, no, Dad, that's Buddy DeFranco. That's not so and so. No, I'm telling you, that's Jimmy Jufrey or something. He just and never played a note of anything.
Here's an interesting observation I just had. All three of us sitting here right now, pardon me, we all had parents that played jazz, either played it in the house or physically played it. All three of us.
Yeah.
Tony, do you think you might not have played if there was another kind of music? What do you think you might have done?
Well, that's an interesting question. I never really gave that much thought, but something that was in my heart and soul. But growing up in the '60s, you couldn't help but be digging the rock and roll scene. And matter of fact, our little band that we first put together in 8th or 9th grade was called the Bourbon Five, because it had Joey was on clarinet in that one in the picture earlier. But our big cover number was The Taste of Honey. That was because it was popular, right, with the drums. Right,
yeah.
And I think we played it.
Yeah.
So,
sure.
And then subsequently, one of the first concerts I heard outside of school and outside of jazz was the Paul Butterfield Blues Band, man, and that's what I wanted to do. I wanted to be in that horn section and play bari sax or tenor sax, and because that was such a wonderful groove. I just loved it. I heard them when I was at OCC. And then, of course, Blood, Sweat, and Tears and Chicago was just for horn bands and stuff. So I don't know. In 1980, when I moved to Oswego, the band I joined was called the Acker Brothers. They were
I remember that name.
Yeah, Victor and Dana, brothers, wonderful. Really into the Jeff Lorber style, Crusaders, but they wrote their own stuff. And I was the horn player, and not a really good one. I worked really, really hard. I played soprano, I think flute and tenor in that group, and none of the stuff was written down. So I had to take a cassette player with me and record the leads they wanted me to play with his guitar
I got
playing.
tired of that quick though, where everybody had to sit around and learn stuff off a record. I'm glad that I don't have to work with that anymore.
Well, it was just hard because their stuff was all original. It was all
exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
Of course, it's all available now. You can get it all now. But let me ask you a question, man.
Can I just make one comment about the Ackers? They now live in Boston. Dana was working for Berkeley. You get a chance, you got to go on YouTube and listen to Victor's son, Henry Acker Jr. He is a gypsy jazz virtuoso. I heard him when he was first like 7 or 8 years old. All those recordings are on YouTube. He's about 15 or 16 now. Victor has taken to playing the rhythm section, rhythm guitar along with him, and plays also incredible. And Dana plays upright bass. So they've virtually kind of put the Django Reinhardt Hot Club of France back together without violin yet. He's been on stage this kid with Frank Vignola and John Pizzarelli. He's amazing. He's really amazing. So I might have, I'm sure I would have done music in some form. If it wasn't, my background was so strong in jazz.
Well, why clarinet?
I came back to the clarinet because it was my first love, and the tenor sax I always thought was inhibiting my clarinet sound. I would play tenor, and then when I picked up the clarinet, it sounded like a tenor. And plus there were so many fine saxophones around playing, and I had a long chat with Chris Vidala. He was one of those few people who could play a clarinet and you thought he was a clarinet major, or he'd play a flute and you thought he was a flute major. He was an amazing, fantastic doubler. I just could never get to that level. And I really actually didn't want to. I mean, I was really enjoying, when I was young, I didn't think I could do this, sell the clarinet. I mean, who the heck hires a clarinet player anymore for, there's no Dixieland, By the way, that all Autumn Leaves, I copped that right off of Buddy DeFranco. He did that arrangement.
Oh. The kids, I got a couple kids that are studying. I mean, really studying. I got a kid who's studying jazz piano with Rick, tenor with Joe.
Oh man!
And voice with me.
Oh, isn't that great?
Talk about learning from the best.
Well, but guess what? This kid is into the old jazz, like the 20s stuff.
Oh, that's awesome.
He's not the first kid that I've encountered. They're going back there and grabbing that original, the very, it was very regimented and kind of came out of the traditional Dixie kind of thing,
Yeah. That's always great to hear. It's exciting. And does he or she know how fortunate they are to be working with you folks?
Wow, yeah.
Because that's pretty special right there.
It takes a lot of crap from me, I can tell you right now. I'm not the easiest person when it comes to people who don't practice.
Oh.
Don't be hard on yourself.
Oh no.
The old school. One of the teachers that I had was his name was John Flavor Sr., Mr. Flavor, who was definitely old school. One of my first young honors was he asked me to play in the city band when I was like in 9th grade, I think it was, my first going in what I thought was pros, the summer band and stuff. But listen, this guy, when I think that's one of the reasons why I never really dabbled in saxophone much, because he said, master the clarinet. Don't, that's, put your focus where it needs to be. And I just remember, I love this story. I was dabbling in baseball. I love baseball. I never got to where I wanted to. On my wall here, if I turned my camera, you'd see a shrine of Mickey Mantle.
You and Nancy both. Yeah.
He was my idol. I got pictures all over the place.
There's got to be a connection, man. Baseball, pool, jazz. Come on.
I had a game where I just happened to do very well on this particular night, and so I went to my clarinet lesson the next night, and my father had driven, and he used to just park in the driveway and fall asleep while I'd go take my lesson. And I walk in, and Mr. Flavor had the newspaper up like this in front of his face. He didn't say hello or anything to me, and so I put my clarinet together and I started noodling, and he starts reading out loud. Well, I can't remember what team it was I was playing for, but it was either Vestios or something like that. We won the championship. It says here that so-and-so, the Rome team beat blah, blah, blah. And Anthony Joseph had, my name was listed as one of the guys that had all kinds of hits and stuff. And I don't know if I hit a homer that night or what, but anyway, he said, so you had a good game last night, huh? I said, yeah. Did you practice last night? Well, no, I had a game. I didn't practice. So he says to me, maybe that's what you ought to do, is go be a baseball player.
Oh,
wow.
Here I am, 7 years old, and that still motivates me.
Oh, man, that's rough, man.
Well, you know what, though? Because he saw that, that was the deal for for him. I mean, he came up through a time when, you know, times were tough for folks. And there was no substitute for practice, and really, truly, there never is there?
I
You know,
often tell my students, I often say, you know, I work with a lot of virtuosos. I said, I'm blessed. I've worked, well, that's not the subject here. The subject is this person that I work with there, that guitarist, he plays 5 to 6 hours a day. That's what he does. I said, how long did you practice yesterday? None. I mean, I don't know about you, Tony, but I know you're still playing. But when I get up at 9 o'clock, I'm here at my desk, and it's all about music until I stop.
Yeah.
Either me singing or teaching or working on recordings or checking out new charts, but it's all about music. It never stops.
Yeah.
Some idiot said to me once, "Man, you're old. Why don't you retire?" I said, "We don't. There's no such thing. What is that joke? There's some joke about musicians retiring. What is it?"
Oh gosh.
There's some
No.
joke.
I don't know. I'm sure there's a lot of bad clarinet jokes out there, but don't worry, we're not going to go there.
Yeah. Well, what do you call two clarinets at the bottom of an ocean? A good start, you know.
Oh no, and you're gonna play for it right now.
There were several instruments that did it, but that same, that's one of my great frustrations. To go back to pool for a minute, because physically I can't practice like I used to. My hands, of all places to get arthritis, like basal, and it's inhibiting things. But when I see those pros play at pool and then come home and try to duplicate it even at some level, maybe be able to run a rack or a rack and a half, and just, geez, I can't quite get there. And of course now I'm, my back, after about an hour, it's like I can't play in a tournament all day long. But this kind of thing, I go back and you step in and you talk to those cats, they're playing pool 10 hours, sometimes 12 hours a day.
Wow.
That's it. And because that's to be able to do what they can do at that level. I mean, you can get lucky a little bit, but the kind of consistent level and driving that point home is difficult. And it's difficult, when you don't have, I never had the concert band that was going to have a whole lot of kids that were going to go into music, but you want them to appreciate music. And you sometimes they say, I mean, Mr. Joseph, I'm not going to be a musician. I say, well, I'd be doing you a disservice, even though you said that, because let's say I was your math teacher. Should I teach you less math because you don't want to be a mathematician? Or if I was your English teacher, should I teach you less English because, or if I was your baseball coach, wouldn't you want me to, or let's say basketball, wouldn't you want me to give you the same idea that somebody like a Michael Jordan? I mean, you may never get to that level, but that's the ultimate. So here in music, this is this ultimate thing. You take it and do what you will with it, and remember that you only get out of it what you put into it. And music doesn't lie.
Which rallies back to what we started our conversation with. Being genius is simply giving all your attention to one thing.
And as we know, I think Nancy, maybe you posted, there was somebody that put a cartoon about how much work goes.
Yeah.
Yes, and then how much work you. I mean, don't we always? I think honestly, I don't try not to ever get mad at anybody, but sometimes folks say to me, "You're not working; it's fun." It's just fun, because they take the word play as we're playing. We're just out in the yard playing, because you know what I mean. And I understand it, and we are having fun. I want them to have that feeling when they see the group, that it's fun and we engage with the audience and stuff. But make no mistake about it, to have that kind of fun, you got to be doing the work and a lot of work. I mean, I didn't know what it meant to transpose when I was in high school. Even though I took theory, I had no idea that lead sheets weren't written for every instrument in the key like they were in concert band. I had a B flat clarinet part. It was already transposed. Now all of a sudden, I got a lead sheet handed to me. I think Dizzy told that story, that he learned playing only in the key of C and went on the bandstand, and they played in the key of concert C, and which put him in D. And I honestly, it's in my mind that he said he started crying because he was in the wrong key. And for me, I sat there going, you mean to tell me I have to look up a step when I look at a lead sheet and have to read it like that? And luckily I had a good teacher who said to me, you know what, that's nothing to be, it's impressive. Piano players read in 2 different clefs at the same time, and you start realizing what the mind can do, especially with music, because with music, our brain has a left side and a right side. One side is for the emotions and the beauty, and the other side is the objective and analytical, right?
Yeah.
Well, what other places do you put both together? Music is one of those sacred places where that happens. You play an A major scale and it has 3 sharps, but how do you play that A major scale is where it's at. Where do you crescendo in the middle, or you add some ornaments and stuff, and that's understanding that, and it just makes me want to scream whenever people say band ought to be after school. It's like, man, that'd be the first thing everybody's doing, is you want your brain to be engaged both ways. There's nothing wrong with the objective side. People say the mathematicians are a certain side of the brain because they only do that. Yeah, but the architects imagine a building. You got to have that other side, man. And you create those 2 things together, and music is the perfect place for that. Just recognizing beauty and playing emotion. So,
Well, we know that. We
sorry to be
know that, and
rambling.
we champion everyone who tries to keep music alive in the school systems. I mean, you remember going back to when we were kids, Tony, and the kindergarten teacher had a piano in the room. We were talking about this with Steve. They don't.
Oh,
this
yeah.
is not even in their lives anymore.
No.
Yeah, and it's a tough struggle. I mean, when Steve mentioned that, it made me think. I used to do this with my kids a lot. Early on when I first started teaching, if I said to a student, "Hey, imitate what a drum sounds like," oftentimes I would get, because in those early days when we were growing up, the commercials and stuff had a lot of big band in it. And so that was around all the time. So even though you weren't totally aware, after the rock and roll scene kind of hit, now you say, okay, imitate a drum, and you're going to get, the proverbial digga 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 dum, and
Right.
stuff, because that they hear that, or a different type of beat, and so all that's kind of changed, but kids still recognize beauty. It makes no, and when they see somebody like Nancy performing, and whether her eyes are closed or not, and the music is just pouring out of her heart and soul, they recognize that, and so your job kind of becomes just to bring more of that to them, so they've got some inspiration for at whatever level they're going to play. And when you get into the studio thing like you have, Nance, yeah, it's a little more cut and dry. I think it's what Mr. Flay was saying to me, man. You got to get on this line. You got to, if you're going to go this route, because when you get to college, you might be a hot shot in high school. You'll hear maybe 50 people that are way where.
Well,
where you're,
my goal as a musician is to never be the smartest person in the room.
sure.
Never.
Because we're always from each other,
I gotta
and
learn.
another
I
thing,
gotta be around people that learn, and that's what's
Yeah.
made it hard. I don't want to get into that. We're running way over late.
oh, geez,
I want you to play for us before we say goodnight.
oh, yeah, I did already.
No, you gotta really play something.
I
Oh,
had an
gosh.
idea. I had an idea of what he could play, like a few bars of, if he doesn't mind. But I don't want to. I was saying you couldn't play a few.
I'll only play a few bars of this and see if you recognize it, all right?
I wonder if it's a song I'm thinking of. Go ahead.
Oh,
You know how to win her over, don't you, Tony?
you're the second guest that did that, and I'm so flattered. Oh my,
I looked all over the place for a song with Eric in it. I couldn't find anything.
No, there
apologize.
isn't. But there is a song you could play that's near and dear to my heart. If you could maybe if you could play just like the first few bars of it. Do you know "Take Me Out to the Ball Game"?
Oh, you can swing.
I mean, we're both baseball fans.
Well, put it in four. Take me up to the ball game. Bum. Yeah, put it in four,
You
man.
want to jazz it up?
Oh, that old ball game.
Play ball. Yeah.
We had it going, Nance.
Yeah, well, we always got it going. Well, I don't know about you, Eric, but this has to be up there with one of my favorite shows.
This has been an absolute blast, and I think I just have one final question, one last question. I just want to know, and I don't know if Hollywood's gonna do it at this point, but I just want to know if they do the Tony Joseph story, as they did with the Benny Goodman stuff. Who would play Tony Joseph? Who would you like?
Well, most people would probably say Tony Orlando, but I've since morphed into Dennis France, so I don't know. What poor soul would want to
That's crazy. What do you,
I'm gonna ask my wife. Oh, she just turned the color of a tomato and passed out, so I don't have her. So,
By the way, is
I
it
don't
safe?
know.
No, it's okay. Is it safe to assume, Tony, you have seen that film though, the Benny Goodman
Oh,
story?
several times with Steve Allen.
Yeah.
You know, when he's
I've never seen it, believe it or not.
right, and his mother says, "Benny, why you play so sad like that?" Because the girl in the movie. That nailed me. I didn't know even though the name of the song. I remember asking my dad, and he said, "That's Memories of You," written by U.B. Blake. As a matter of fact, we're playing a tribute to. Geez, I hardly had a chance to talk about those cats at OCC. Phil Klein, one of my wonderful mentors, along with Zampino and Jimmy Mosier and Bill Harris, and I hope I'm not forgetting anybody. Barb McHale, Gail Lyons, wonderful faculty, and it's I think a week from this Thursday, August 12th, there's going to be a memorial service up at OCC, and the two Salazos and I are going to get together, and that's going to be one of the tunes. Except Benny did the. That was
Yeah.
in the movie. Yeah, that movie. Well, Lionel Hampton comes on board, and isn't that cool?
I didn't realize until I found that movie poster. I had forgotten that Hamp is in that film. Gene Krupa is in it. Teddy Wilson. Yeah.
Everybody
My
but
mother was
Benny.
a big Teddy Wilson fan.
Your mom loved Teddy Wilson?
Oh, yeah.
Wow.
So did mine. Yeah, Kathy and I met Teddy Wilson at the what was it on Carrier Circle, the John Milton Hotel, New Year's Eve, whatever year, and he was there with a trio, and I finally got to meet him, and oh man, what a great player! And then he played at Oswego on our theater. I can't remember exactly what was the event for, but just one of the best.
Nance, I know we've run real late, but can you just give me the opportunity to share this one last collage as a tribute to our guest?
Go ahead.
All right, this will be real quick. You don't have to explain everything that's in here, but again, I didn't have to dig too deep. It was on your Facebook page.
Oh, I think I know what this is. Oh, there I am.
There's Tony, the baseball player. There's Tony that's you and your lovely wife, right?
My lovely wife. Yep. That's Art Barron on trombone, and him and I are playing. Boy, I wish we had time. I could tell you so many stories about Art. What a great player. He played with Duke Ellington and then Mercer Ellington. Wow. He also is on the first album with Stevie Wonder, Music of My Mind. We met in an exchange concert in high school. I happened to stay with that cat, you know, and you go and you're nervous of who you're going to get. I still remember them. I was 16 years old, and I called my name, Anthony Joseph, you'll be staying with Art Barron. And he looked at me and he said, "Hey man, you got your ex?" And I didn't even know what he was talking about, but he said, you like jazz? And I said, yeah. And the next thing I know, I'm in a jam session. He took me someplace that didn't have a clarinet player, and I was like, I never want to leave this Fairfield, Connecticut for the rest of my life. And we've been friends ever since. Matter of fact, I might be playing with the Harlem Blues and Jazz Band in that picture. Because
Wow.
Art brought that group up to Utica Library. It's one of those. Yeah, great cat right there.
Yeah.
Tell us
And,
again
there's-
where the next place we can see you. We want everyone to know before we leave. Where's your next?
well, other than that Thursday thing at Voorhees Park, we're back at Canales on the 14th of August, 6 to 9. And there's going to be friends of mine from Rome there. So I'm going to be breaking out the Dean Martin and Frank Sinatra a little bit for that. I used to do a Dean Martin imitation at the Savoy with Phil Klein and Bill Munn with played organ.
All right, let's hear it. We're not leaving it till we hear it.
No, that's,
Can't
it's
leave us
gone.
hanging, La.
It died. It was, well, I was a kid. I mean, a real kid. And but yeah, August 14th, and then the music hall September 11th, which is a concert performance, and so that we're really looking forward to. As a matter of fact, we're going to do a kind of the last time we played there, we threw a nod to Jimmy Van Heusen's music. This time, I think it's going to be Ellington. I'm pretty sure. I'm
Nice.
positive.
Fantastic.
So we're looking forward to that. So
Man, this has been incredible, Nance.
Hey,
Tony,
Yeah.
what a blast. What a
you guys-
great.
This is great. I'm so impressed with what you have going here. I still have a few I have to go watch that I didn't get
A
to
lot of
see
people
live.
rewatch them. Yeah, a lot of people enjoy. You know, we did it just during the pandemic, but people like us to
Yeah.
continue. They enjoy the hearing from different.
Awesome.
Yeah, but listen, I know your cats are probably wanting to cuddle with you. and
Aw, it's cuddly.
They are.
so anyway, Tony, thank you so much. And this, again, I speak for Nance. This has truly been,
This
one
is
of
up
our-
there with one of my
it's
favorites.
up, it really is. And again,
I mean, shout out to all my former students and colleagues and so forth. And thank you for everything. And hope to see you guys here at one time. I give you some recommendations afterward to some folks. You probably already have mine on your list, but I look forward. Let me put it that way. I look forward to who you have next.
all right. Well, we are going to have Melissa Gardner next
Oh,
Sunday.
awesome.
So she will be joining us next Sunday, but she's going to have some, you're a tough act to follow, my friend. You're a tough.
I wouldn't worry one bit. Melissa's great. I had the real honor of playing with her once, and she's just fabulous.
But anyway, we're gonna try to let everybody enjoy the rest of their evening. And I know this ran a little over, but it was worth it.
It was worth it.
Thanks for
You
taking the
lived it.
time.
Trust me,
lived
my
it.
former students, I'm sure we're already anticipating that. This is going to go on all night.
We could talk all night. We love you, Tony. Thank you for everything.
Be back.
Love you.
Thank you.
Okay.
So much.
Thanks, Tony. Thank you, Nance. Have a great week. We'll see you guys next week.
All
All the
right.
best.
Bye-bye.
Peace, love, music.